Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hello.
to, what is this, the third video? I've lost track.
Yeah.
So many things going on. So, looks like it's more than just you and me, Scott.
Ooh, we got a party today. I like it.
We do have a party. It's good to see all these faces here. So really quick, we have, by way of introduction, Farouk dialing in from Uzbekistan, a good friend of ours from last year, and also the current leader of our leaderboard. Somehow he's been able to sneak in time to finish all these puzzles before everyone else. So it's good to have you.
Hello, hello everybody. Nice to see you guys again. This wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, wonderful time of the puzzle year.
Surprising, actually, a lot of people from Uzbekistan have been solving these challenges too. Yeah, I'm really surprised. Really? We have an Uzbek leaderboard, like it's full, you know, it's at 200 members.
Oh, wow. Are you
Only
on the top?
Like 130 of them are solving, but still, like it's a lot of people.
Where are you in that ranking?
I'm like second, I think. Yeah.
Ah, killer, man. You're just killing it. Awesome.
You're beast mode.
And then we have Scott. I'm sure if you've watched our videos in the past, you've been familiar with. He's been through all of them. We have Hyunji, who made a kind of appearance from video one, right? We had your audio on video one, but it's the first time we actually at least get to see your face. So welcome, Hyunji. And then we have Tongu. So Tongu, we've also seen on video one, and we get to see you again on video three. So how things have been going for you guys so far? Because I mean, Scott and I talked a little bit about 2, 3, 4, and 5, but now for you guys, I mean, how has it been for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8? I guess.
And 8.
And 8. So far, so good? Or having troubles? Or harder than you thought? Easier than you thought? What are your thoughts? I'll leave it open.
It's easier than last year. It seemed like 2, 3, 4 seemed like an easier start than last year.
Easier for you, man.
You're using a more difficult language.
Last year, I remember day 5 and day 6. It was really hard for me. Like I read the part 2 of day 6 last year and just gave up. Like not now. This time it was readable. It was approachable. So I think in that sense.
The first 6 this year were like all the same difficulty level. I would say that last year.
I would say it got a little bit harder. There was a couple where like the reading, I think, made it tricky.
Maybe.
Yeah, the logic itself, once you figure it out, I would agree. But I would say, in my opinion, that at least the comprehension got a little bit more difficult as time went on.
Yeah.
But then you also have Hyunji, who did like day 6 that you did?
Yeah, I think so. It was day 6. I think I have like same. So it's like basically I had a very short course on Python previously, and I don't have a really clear understanding of like lists, dictionaries, and callable things. So basically, I'm like I'm challenged every day because I didn't know like the concept exactly. And while combining the ideas, how I want to make things come out is like different from what I expected. So I'm lucky that I chose Python because it's like much easier. I think I have more options and definitely more than COBOL. So I have a huge respect for your approach.
Thank you for thinking about me.
So that gives me a lot of like, okay, I should be more into this. So it's really nice because like it's nice to have the opportunity to participate in coding every time because it's released. So I realize that I have this kind of same issue. If I'm stuck with one part, then I will not be able to resolve ones that will release later.
Yeah, that's true. Well, keep at it. I mean, you got one, so that's awesome. You know, and you remember, you don't have to do these in order. So, you know, these are slowly going to get more complicated, but it's fine to just go back because you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to, you know, you can backfill. Be really great. And then Tongwoo, I think you made a great start with day one, and then we saw you peter off. I'm sure you have other things going on, and you know everybody's lives are busy. But what do you think so far? Are you having fun?
Actually, I just only the day I just solved the problem of day one, and other things I didn't solve it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's great.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe I should try start with day 6 or 8.
Okay. Yeah. I think well, let's start with day 6. Let's talk about day 6. So day 6, the tuning trouble, the Star Grove. So it looks like we have begin to make your way to a Star Grove. I'm not sure if I read this or not. I think I went right into the puzzle. It's like I'm reading this now and I'm like, did I read this?
I've been going back after solving the puzzles and reading the stories.
Yeah, I think I've been rushing through trying to get, okay, where is the problem? But
that one cost me a little bit on this one. Like, I also just rushed to the example.
Yeah.
I rushed to the example without reading the description in detail. Like it was an easy, like relatively easier than the other ones, but I spent like an hour on this one. Yeah. So after this, I have been reading everything, like trying to read everything.
Yeah, I got to read carefully.
Yeah, I remember, you know, there was a puzzle. We talked about this on Tuesday, but there was a puzzle where I actually ended up solving part 2, not knowing that I had missed a detail in part 1. I think it was a crane problem, right? I didn't know that you have to move them one at a time. I thought you had to just move the whole blocks at a time. And then I was like, why can't I get the answer? And then I went back and I read the question more carefully and I realized I have to move one at a time. But yeah, reading, you know, like I said, as the days go on, those kind of details become more important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for this one, you're given, if I now start remembering this correctly, you're given a large arbitrary string and you have to find 4 characters that are different, right?
Yeah, the first 4, like the first location where the 4 characters are unique.
Right. And so what'd you guys do for those who actually took a stab at it? I mean, Hyunji, I mean, you solved this one. This one, this one took me a long time, but you know, how did you do yours?
Luckily Python had this the deck, and I could only count I can only say, just like I have some like chords, like digit slide will be moving toward the right, and then there's like kind of the one on the left will be kind of popped from the left too. So I can only see that like moving one by one to the right, and then moving one and then while moving one, I could like increase the count, and then when I find the 4, and there's a function in Python for the count, which he will let me compare the items in the list, whether there's any duplicates. So only if there's no duplicates, then I could find out what was the number of the count that I started with.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's great. So there was something available to you in Python that made this, I wouldn't say easier, but at least less work maybe for you?
Yes, very few lines. So, yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the beauties
of
of Python.
Envious, right? Alex. You sound envious of having tools.
Oh my gosh.
You just have rocks and sticks to work with.
Pretty much. So I mean, the idea is, you know, as Hyunji said, the concept I think is called a sliding window, right? So you have a window on your data and you can just slide that window over. If you kind of think of, you know, Scott, when you did your event on the Pokemon game, right? And you had like 4 sprites. but you have a little window because you only want to see one sprite at a time.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
just sliding what we're looking at over.
Sliding over, yeah, right. And so this is kind of the same idea, right? You have a sliding window on your data. It's nice if the language comes with some sort of tools to let you do that, but yeah, sometimes
By the
using
way,
old languages, you do it the old way.
Farouk, what language are you solving them in this year?
Python.
Okay.
Yeah. Wanted to learn more about that. Last year it was just for while loops and basic syntax. This year I'm trying to use more like stuff that do not exist in other languages in Python.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can
Maybe
we
next
take,
year, next year different language.
Fortran.
Can we take a look at your code? I mean, can you send me the link to like the GitHub
Oh,
or
yeah.
something that you can, so we can kind of see what you're doing? And also
Yeah.
the advantage of, anybody else watching can kind of also see how it
Yeah.
can be done in Python, or one approach can be done in Python. That'd be really
I'm
cool.
I have been solving 2022 actually. Trying to solve them.
2 years ago, the 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Tong, what language were you using?
I shared it in Discord.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yep.
Dongok, are you using Python?
Oh yeah, I use Python.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we got 3 Python users here. Cool. Now, the interesting thing about this one, and this was something that I'm not sure if, I wish Andre was here so I can ask him whether he actually did this with regular expressions, because he wrote that comment on the board, like, did anybody else do this with regular expressions, or is that crazy
I'm
talk?
guessing
And
he
I was
did,
like,
yeah.
what do you mean also? You did this with regular expressions? And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I went back and I thought about it, and I was like, oh yeah, we could do this with regular expressions.
Yeah, totally good.
Oh,
Like how?
It's like just
Like
a lot
we
of
just-
copy pasting too. So it's pretty.
it's a really, really ugly copy
Yeah.
paste.
Did you see my GIF my meme that I posted after that one?
Yeah.
Homer Simpson bleaching his eyes because he doesn't want to see.
The ugliness of it. So to give you an idea what it looked like, at least what I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure there's others that that'll work, but oh, actually I wrote it up in JavaScript, so there's that. But so I'll get rid of the JavaScript portion.
Just a bunch of capturing groups.
Just a bunch of capturing groups. Don't need that slash, don't need that one. And let's stick in one of the possible questions. So let's say I'll just arbitrarily choose this one, since that's nice and deep in there. Oh, it's not running. Why isn't that running? There it is. So,
Okay.
and if you string this along, you saw that one-liner before. I'll just paste it down here. I realized I could have saved a lot of time and just done this with a regular expression, because it took me much longer to do this without regular expressions.
So you have regular expressions in COBOL?
I don't know if I do. I should check.
All right. Yeah, this one was good. I would still say this one wasn't that much more difficult than the previous days, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Rejects didn't come to my mind. I think it wouldn't come to my mind at all. Rejects. I just loop through the string characters and build a new string, and as I go go along, check the last 4 or 14 characters in that string, if they are all unique. Like if we have one instance of each character.
Yeah. I think I did it pretty similarly.
I split it into arrays, and then use subarrays, because PHP has a nice array unique function to filter out all the same elements. And then I just counted the length of the final array to see if it was 4 or 14 for the part 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I miss a lot of PHP in that regard. It's a Frankenstein of a language, but there's something in there that you can use always.
Yeah,
You just
there's
have to dig
always
through
something.
it. Like, despite the weird, like changing argument order or the naming scheme.
Yeah, I can never, I have to search up like every function because I can't remember. Is it one word? Is it camel case? Is it underscored?
Right.
And
Is
then
it the needle first? Is it
even
the needle
order of the
second?
words, like it's
Yeah.
it's getting frustrating. It's very hard to remember anything. Like I feel like I have to search everything because there's no consistency.
But it's a powerful language. So
yeah. Well, one of the funny trivia, the Advent of Code, if you go to Advent of Code, like in his, I think it's like the about page or something, he shows like his other projects. And one of them is just called like things I hate about PHP. He's got a whole website about things he hates about PHP, which is hilarious.
Oh, PHP, the punching boy of programming.
Make me sad.
Yeah, things about PHP that make me sad. It's by the Advent of Code guy, so
Nice.
it's fun. Should we go on to day 7?
Let's go to day 7.
I thought day 7 was a bit of a jump from the previous 6 days. I thought the difficulty got a little bit harder. It was fun. Yeah, it took longer for me to just even come up with an approach for this one. Like, okay, where do I even start?
Yeah, I spent some time thinking about this one as well. I mean, I had the luxury of it because I was doing other things during that day, and I wasn't able to get to it till late at night. But every time I went down an avenue of like, oh, I could do it this way, it was like, oh, but I don't know how to do that in COBOL. Oh, I could do it this way. Oh my God, it's gonna take so long in COBOL. And so the interesting thing about having these kind of restraints and these limitations is that you spend a lot more time thinking. Because you want to try to limit the amount of memory and the the fancy data structures that you can use, but at the same time it's kind of cool.
With non-restrictive programming languages, I thought this one was fun because like right off the bat I could think of multiple different approaches that you could try. Whereas everyone else, like every other problem before this, I pretty much only ever even thought of like one approach. It was kind of an obvious approach too, where, oh, you just do this.
Right.
This one, I'm like, oh, I could do this, or maybe, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could make a tree. Oh, I could use a stack. Oh, a bunch of different options that I just kind of had to weigh at the beginning, be like, which one could I do fastest?
Right. I think in the end, I ended up using recursion, but the challenge for me is that I don't have local variables in COBOL. So you're doing recursion without local variables.
So just everything's global?
Pretty much.
No way.
Unless you separate them out to files. You can separate out to programs, and each program can have its own memory space. But calling it each time, you'd have to basically carry over all that data anyway. So it's kind of pointless in that regard, almost pointless in that regard. So instead, I just created my own memory stack. So so I'd have a stack of memory, and then as recursion happens, I add to the stack, and as I'm done with a recursive function, I pop off the stack and do all the adding and stuff there. But and then I'm working, so I was happy. But I ended up using a recursive thing. So if you found a directory and it went into that directory, then I would call this function again that would analyze the directory, right? And you found another subdirectory, call the function again that analyze that subdirectory, and so on until I'm able to come back out after I'm adding up all the files. So
I ended up using like a double stack.
Wow.
I had like one stack to keep track of all like the finished directories that I finished calculating all the sums for, and then a second stack to like keep track of all the directories that are still open. And so then like for every time I found like a number, I had to loop through my second stack to like add the number to all of the values in there. And then when I went to a CD ... so when you go back a level, I popped off the last value from that stack and put it on my like finished stack. So
okay, I'm not sure if I follow.
Hard to describe with words. The code wasn't that hard though.
Okay.
I started with a tree, it seemed like there were 3 words.
Yeah,
and it
that was
seemed
one of the
like
things I wanted to do, was a
problem.
tree.
Yeah, it seemed like a tree problem, but once I started, like, I started with a binary tree, and I was like, no, it can have more than 2 channels. So I switched to a regular tree. So I'm adding trees, and I'm not finding a way to consistently keep track of the memory and the node and its subdirectories as well in a tree. So basically, I got confused and I got stuck in that tree approach. Like, I had a lot of, like, 50 lines of code for that tree. I spent so hey, like, wait, let's not get smart here. Let's use another approach. So I thought and just use a dictionary. I came up with a dictionary approach. Like, it was somehow there were some elements of Scott's approach, like every directory is a key in that hash map. So once I come across a directory command, I add a key to that hash map. And if there are all the files, if let's say there are 2 files, I sum them up or no, not sum them up, just add the sizes to that list as a value for that key, all right? So, and there's also directory. So once I make one loop, I have the list of all the directories and the files and subdirectors in that directories. So I have another dictionary keeping track of directories which doesn't have a subdirectory, so that I can just sum them up. Like, I already have their sizes, and I have other directories which have subdirectories. So I use recursion until I do not have any directory without its size not calculated. So once it's all the sizes for some directories are calculated, just finding the ones less than 100,000.
Okay.
It's a hash map, yeah.
Good. So yeah, this is an interesting one because this is also one, you can kind of, I guess, I think, the context of this one, because he first starts out as a file system, immediately the first thing you want to do is, oh, I should make a tree. Right? But then I guess none of us ended up using a tree.
Like, how? I was like, I'm going to use tree, but how?
Yeah.
So that's much more complicated.
Yeah. Okay.
It seemed like it would have been the best approach, but a little bit overkill for what the final what the final question wanted. Luckily, question 2 didn't have us actually navigate the file directory. That was a little bit of a worry when I started my approach.
All right. Well, let's get to number 8. Number 8, the treehouse. So you have essentially what's a map, right? And what you're interested in is the heights of trees, and these numbers denote heights of trees. I guess 0 means no tree. But anyways,
the short tree.
Or a short tree, maybe. Yeah, it's true. The shortest because it's from 0 to 9, right? In terms of that range. But for any arbitrary tree in this forest, if you look around, you have values up, down, left, and right that are either greater than or less than. And as long as the neighboring trees are less than you, then you can see through. And if they're higher, then you can't see past them, or the same. And so I guess you're supposed to find from outside the grid, looking in on this
all 4 directions,
trees, this forest. Yeah. And from all 4 directions, how many trees can you see? I guess was a question.
This one took some code.
I think I just brute force this one. I just did it from the top, did it from the left, did it from the bottom, did it from the right. Just added them all together. I didn't do anything fancy for this one.
Like how? Like, did you calculate or just loop through it recursively? Yeah.
So, if you consider looking through, actually, no, there's no recursion. It's just really loops. So let's start looking from the right side, for example. So looking from the right side, you can go in and we're only interested in the core of this thing. So we're not interested in the periphery. So in the core of this thing, you take one variable and then you say from the right side, or going to the right, let's say going to the right, do you see anything smaller or larger or the same size as this one? So this 5 runs into a 5 immediately. So, okay, that's as far as I can go. And then you go to the next line. The next line starts with a 6 and then a 5. Well, you can't see the 5 because the 6 is too large. So you can skip the rest of that one. With the 3, you start with the 3, but the first one is a 3, which is the same. So it's not too bad. But then you run into a 5, which is taller. And then you run into a 4. And the 4, you can't see that beyond the 5. And then the 9 you don't really care about because it's the edge piece anyways. You're really only, at least in mine, you're only concentrating on the core parts. And then the bottom, it's an edge. So you only really, in this example, need to process these 3 lines, this 3x3 grid. And then I start from the top. Oh, let's see, I start from the left, look from the left, starts with a 2. I can't see the 1, but I could see the 5, but I can't see the 5 behind the 5. Then go to the next line, start with the 2. I can see the 3, but I can't see the 3 behind that one, but I can see the 5. And the next one, I start with the 9. I don't even have to look at the rest of the numbers because it's a 9. It's the highest tree, right? Everything's going to be the same or less. And then so on. And then, starting from the top, do the same thing. Start with the 0. You got a 5, 5 behind that. I can't see it because it's the same height. The 3 I can't see because it's the same height. And then the 5 is a border tree, so I don't care about that one. And the next column, 5, 3 I don't see. The 5 I don't see because it's the same height. The next column starts with a 7, and so I don't see anything because 1 is shorter, 3 is shorter, 4 is shorter, and so on.
9.
So
There's a 9 on the bottom though.
There's a 9 on the bottom, but it's
But
a edge
an
tree,
edge tree,
so it's
yeah.
always going to be visible anyway. So I don't test those.
I'm sorry, guys. I have to take off. I'm going to get ready for the Code Soul event.
Oh yeah.
Reminder, anybody on our leaderboard who gets 50 stars, I will buy a Advent of Code t-shirt. So that goes for you too, Farouk,
Oh.
except I'm thinking about kicking Farouk off of our leaderboard since he's the only one beating me. I'm just kidding, man. If you send me your
I have
Advent
a
t-shirt,
Man,
50
that's
stars, you'll get a shirt.
brutal. Anything to win, man, right? Anything to win. It is
Okay.
Scott's leaderboard, so I guess Scott could do what he wants. But
Yes,
I
Scott.
got to take off. Goodbye,
Yeah.
guys.
well, I need to take off too. But thanks, guys, for coming out. And
Right.
hopefully, we'll see you again next week, and we'll cover, 4 more questions. But keep at it, and yeah, keep having fun. Any questions that you guys come up with? Remember, you can ask us, or you can find us at the Discord channel.
All right. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you again too, man.
Okay.
Ciao.